The gym smelled of sweat and polished wood, the kind of place where every creak of the floorboards told a story of hard-won victories. Under the flicker of fluorescent lights, Jada Carter spun low, her braid whipping through the air as she landed a precise kick against a padded dummy. Across from her, her twin sister Janelle mirrored the move, her strike snapping with the same controlled ferocity. The sisters moved like they shared a single heartbeat fluid, fierce, unstoppable. From the sidelines, their father, Derek, leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his dark eyes tracking every motion. A former Marine, his presence filled the room like a quiet storm, steady but unyielding. "Never start a fight," Derek's voice cut through the rhythmic thuds of their strikes, low and firm, but always finish one. Jada paused, catching her breath, sweat beading on her forehead. She met her father's gaze, her voice steady despite the burn in her muscles. "What if they don't give us a choice?" Derek's lips twitched, not quite a smile, but close. "Then you show them who they're really up against." Janelle grinned, wiping her brow with the back of her hand. "Hope they're ready to eat pavement." The camera panned across the gym, lingering on a corkboard pinned with newspaper clippings. One headline stood out, half obscured by shadow: Crestwood Academy rocked by scandal. Jada's voiceover broke the silence, soft but edged with steel. "We thought we were ready for anything, but nothing could have prepared us for what was waiting at Crestwood Academy." A beat of silence, then a bold text flashed across the screen. "Drop a like, hit subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. This story's about to get wild." Crestwood Academy gleamed like a postcard from a world Jada and Janelle Carter had only ever seen in movies. Ivy clung to red brick buildings, their tall windows catching the morning sun. Manicured lawns stretched wide, dotted with students in crisp navy blazers, their laughter floating like they owned the air itself. But beneath the polish, the place hummed with something sharper: judgment, hierarchy, a pecking order carved out long before the twins ever set foot on its grounds. Jada adjusted her backpack, her uniform stiff against her skin. At 16, she was used to standing out, but this was different. The stares weren't curious. They were cold, calculating, sizing her up, being like she'd wandered into the wrong room. Beside her, Janelle walked with the same steady stride, her jaw set, her eyes scanning the crowd like a hawk. They were twins, but not identical. Jada's sharp cheekbones and thoughtful gaze contrasted with Janelle's broader grin and restless energy. What they shared was deeper, a bond forged in late-night talks, shared secrets, and years of training under their father's watchful eye. "Feels like we're walking into a lion's den," Janelle muttered, her voice low enough for only Jada to hear. Jada's lips quirked. Good thing we're not prey. They were scholarship kids, black in a sea of wealth and privilege, and Crestwood didn't let them forget it. Teachers stumbled over their names in roll call, their tongues tripping like Jada and Janelle were foreign languages. Students accidentally bumped them in the halls, their apologies too sharp to be sincere. Jada caught every detail: the sidelong glances, the whispers behind cupped hands. She was a reader of people, always had been, and this place was a book written in barbed wire. Their father had prepared them for this. Derek Carter didn't raise fools. A martial arts instructor with a Marine's discipline, he taught them to move through the world with pride and precision. "You'll face storms," he'd said, his voice steady as granite. "Hold your ground, but pick your battles." Jada clung to those words now, her fingers tightening around her backpack strap as they crossed the courtyard. That's when she heard a voice, loud and lazy, cutting through the morning chatter. "Yo, check it out. Charity cases think they're hot stuff." Jada's eyes flicked to the source. Ryan Baxter, senior, quarterback, king of Crestwood's food chain. He leaned against a stone pillar, his blonde hair perfect, his grin all teeth and venom. His crew Zach and Brent flanked him, chuckling like trained hyenas. The crowd slowed, sensing a show. Janelle's step faltered, her hand twitching like she wanted to swing. Jada shot her a look, quick and sharp. "Not now." Janelle's jaw clenched, but she kept walking, her sneakers scuffing the pavement. "Smart move," Ryan called after them, his voice dripping with mock respect. "Wouldn't want you to get lost on your first day." The crowd snickered, phones already out, ready to capture whatever came next. Jada's chest burned, but she kept her face smooth, her father's words echoing. They want a reaction. Don't give it. She could feel Janelle's fire beside her, simmering, ready to spill over. They were a unit, always had been, but Jada knew this was just the beginning. Crestwood wasn't just a school, it was a battlefield, and Ryan Baxter had just drawn the first line. As they pushed through the heavy glass doors, Jada's voiceover returned, low and resolute. We didn't come here to lose, but some fights find you, whether you're ready or not. The cafeteria at Crestwood Academy buzzed like a hive, all clinking trays and overlapping voices, but the air around Jada and Janelle Carter felt heavy, like someone had turned up the gravity. They sat at a cornered table, their trays untouched, the weight of a dozen stares pressing against their backs. Jada scanned the room, her eyes catching every detail. The way groups leaned closer when they thought she wasn't looking. The way phones tilted just enough to snap a sneaky photo. She was good at reading rooms, always had been, and this one was screaming trouble. Janelle, picking at her fries, kept her voice low. They're staring again, like we're some kind of exhibit. Let them stare, Jada said, her tone calm but sharp. They're just mad we're here, and they can't do a damn thing about it. Janelle snorted, a half smile breaking through. Bet they'd love to try. They'd been at Crestwood for a week, and the school had already shown its teeth. It wasn't just the whispers or the way teachers seemed to skip over them in class discussions. It was the subtle stuff, the accidental shoulder checks in the halls, the way their lockers were always mysteriously jammed. Jada kept a mental tally, filing each slight away like evidence. Janelle, on the other hand, was a lit fuse, her fingers twitching every time someone pushed too far. Their father's words were the only thing keeping her in check. Pick your battles, but Ryan Baxter wasn't making that easy. He strutted into the cafeteria like he owned it, his Letterman jacket slung over one shoulder, his grin sharp enough to cut glass. Zach and Brent trailed him, their laughter lewd and performative. The crowd parted, students glancing up like they were waiting for a show. Ryan's eyes locked onto the twins' table, and Jada's stomach tightened. She knew that look, predatory, calculated, the kind of guy who got off on making others feel small. Yo, scholarship sisters, Ryan's voice boomed, silencing nearby tables. He dropped into a chair across from them, leaning forward like they were old friends. How's it feel to be the diversity poster kids? Bet you're loving all this attention. Jada met his gaze, her expression cool as marble. We're good, Ryan. How's it feel to peak in high school? The cafeteria erupted in gasps and stifled laughs. A few kids clapped, caught off guard by her nerve. Ryan's smirk twitched, his eyes narrowing, but he leaned back, playing it off. Big talk for someone who doesn't belong here. Keep it up, see how that works out. Janelle's hand tightened around her fork, her knuckles pale. Keep running your mouth, see how that works out. Ryan's crew hooted, egging him on, but he just stood, brushing imaginary lint off his jacket. Enjoy your moment, ladies. It's gonna cost you. As he sauntered off, the crowd's whispers swelled, phones already buzzing with the exchange. Jada exhaled slowly, her heart pounding but her face steady. Janelle shot her a look, half admiration, half frustration. You're gonna get us killed one day. Or save us, Jada said, her voice quiet but firm. She wasn't sure which yet. That afternoon, the twins found a sliver of refuge in the library, tucked between stacks of dusty books. It was one of the few places at Crestwood where the air didn't feel like it was waiting to choke them. Jada flipped through her history textbook, her pen scratching notes in a spiral notebook. Janelle slouched in her chair, scrolled through her phone, her brow furrowed. Check this, Janelle said, sliding the phone toward Jada. A Crestwood group chat had lit up with memes about the cafeteria showdown, most of them mocking Ryan, but a few taking cheap shots at the twins' photoshopped images of them in janitor uniforms, captions about charity cases. Jada's jaw tightened, but she pushed the phone back. They're pathetic, she said. Let them waste their energy. Janelle's eyes flashed. I'm tired of letting them. We're not their punching bags. Before Jada could respond, a soft voice interrupted. You guys okay? They looked up to see Mia Nguyen, a junior with a shy smile and a stack of books under her arm. She'd been in their chemistry class, one of the few who didn't flinch when they sat nearby. Jada studied her, cautious but curious. "We're fine," she said. "What's—" Mia glanced around, lowering her voice. "Ryan's got a history. Last year, he targeted a kid on scholarship, hacked his email, spread lies. The kid transferred. Just watch your backs." Janelle leaned forward, her tone sharp. "Why tell us now? You friends with him or something?" Mia flushed but held her ground. "No, I just know how it feels to be the odd one out. Thought you should know." Jada nodded, her guard softening. "Thanks, Mia." As Mia walked away, Janelle muttered, "She's either a saint or a spy." Jada didn't answer, but she filed Mia's warning away, another piece of the puzzle. Crestwood wasn't just a school, it was a machine, and Ryan was its favorite cog. But machines could break. The next day, the bullying took a sharper turn. Jada and Janelle were headed to their lockers when Zach barreled past, his shoulder slamming into Janelle's hard enough to send her books crashing to the floor. Soda splashed across her notes, the sticky liquid seeping into the pages. Zach spun, his face all fake surprise. "Whoa, my bad. Didn't see you there." Janelle's eyes blazed, her fists clenching. "You're gonna see me now." She shoved him back hard, and Zach stumbled, his smirk faltering. A crowd gathered, phones out, but before Janelle could escalate, a teacher, Mrs. Hargrove, appeared, her lips pursed. "Enough. Both of you, move along," Janelle pointed at Zach. "He started it." Mrs. Hargrove's gaze flicked to Zach, then away, dismissive. "I said move along." The crowd dispersed, but the message was clear. Crestwood's rules didn't apply to everyone equally. Jada pulled Janelle away, her voice low. "She's not worth it. Save it for who matters." Janelle's breath was ragged, but she nodded, grabbing her ruined books. "This is bullshit." That night, the Carter house was a sanctuary, its warm lights cutting through the suburban dusk. The kitchen smelled of Derek's chili, the radio humming low with jazz. Jada and Janelle sat at the table, their homework spread out, but their minds were elsewhere. Derek, stirring the pot, didn't miss the tension in their shoulders. "Rough day?" he asked, his voice calm but probing. Janelle didn't look up. "Same old Crestwood. They push. We're supposed to just take it." Derek set the spoon down, turning to face them. "You don't take it. You hold your ground, but you do it smart. They want you to snap, to give them an excuse." "Don't." Jada traced a line in her notebook, her voice quiet. "What if it's not just about us? What if they keep doing this to everyone?" Derek's eyes softened, but his tone stayed firm. "Then you fight for more than just yourselves, but you do it with control. That's power." He shared a story from his Marine days about a sergeant who tried to break him with racist jabs. "I didn't swing. I outworked him, outsmarted him, till he had nothing left to say. You beat them by being better." Jada nodded, but Janelle's fingers drummed the table, restless. Derek saw it, his gaze steady. "Patience, Janelle, the right moment's coming." The breaking point came on Friday. Jada and Janelle arrived at school to find their lockers trashed, doors pried open, books shredded, and trash stuffed inside. Spray painted across the metal were words too vile to repeat, the kind that burned into your chest and stayed there. Worst of all were the notes, dozens of them, spilling out like poison. "Go back where you came from. You don't belong." The hallway went quiet, students snapping photos, some laughing, others looking away. Ryan leaned against a nearby wall, his grin smug, his crew snickering behind him. "Looks like someone left you a welcome gift," he called, loud enough for everyone to hear. Jada's hands shook, but she forced them still, her father's voice in her head. "Control is power." Janelle's breath hitched, her eyes locked on Ryan like she could set him on fire with a look. The crowd waited, hungry for a reaction, but the twins stood frozen, their silence louder than any shout. In her journal that night, Jada wrote, "They think they can break us. They're wrong, but how long can we keep waiting?" Janelle, pacing their shared room, stopped and met her sister's eyes. "No more playing nice," she said, her voice low and certain. "Next time we end it," Jada nodded, her pen still. "Next time." The Crestwood Academy courtyard was a stage and lunch hour was showtime. Students sprawled across picnic tables, their laughter sharp and performative, while the sun beat down on the cobblestone paths like a spotlight. Jada and Janelle Carter moved through the crowd, their trays balanced, their steps deliberate. They'd learned to navigate this place like a minefield, every glance, every whisper a potential trigger. But today, the air felt different, thicker, like the moment before a storm breaks. Jada's eyes flicked to Janelle, catching the tension in her sister's jaw. "You feel it too?" she murmured. Janelle's lips quirked, but her gaze was steel. "Yeah, they're circling." They didn't need to look to know Ryan Baxter was watching. Had been quieter since the locker prank, his smug grin replaced by something darker, more deliberate. Jada had spent nights replaying every jab, every slur, her journal pages filled with strategies. Has escalating because we didn't break. He needs a win. Janelle, less patient, had been sketching fight moves in her own notebook, her pen slashing through the paper like a blade. Their father's voice echoed in their heads. Control is power, but control was a rope fraying under Ryan's relentless pressure. As they reached an empty table, Ryan's voice cut through the chatter, loud and venomous. "Well, look who's still here. Guess trash doesn't know when to take itself out." The courtyard went quiet, heads turning, phones already raised. Ryan stood on a bench, his Letterman jacket slung over his shoulder like a cape, Zach and Brent flanking him with matching smirks. The crowd leaned in, hungry for blood. Jada set her tray down slowly, her movements precise, her mind racing. "He's staging this. Public, permanent. He wants to bury us." Janelle, her tray still in hand, tilted her head, her voice dripping with mock surprise. "Wow, Ryan, you rehearsed that one? Or did your boys write it for you?" The crowd snickered, a few kids clapping. Ryan's eyes flashed, his grin tightening. "Keep talking, Carter. You're about to learn what happens when you don't know your place." Jada stepped forward, her posture relaxed but her eyes locked on his, sharp as a blade. "Our place? Funny, I thought this was a school, not your personal kingdom. Or are you just mad we're better at surviving your crap than you are at dishing it?" The crowd erupted, gasped, mixing with laughter. Ryan's face flushed, his control slipping. He jumped off the bench, closing the distance, his voice low and dangerous. "You think you're untouchable? Let's test that." Before Jada could respond, he shoved her hard. Her tray crashed to the ground, food splattering across the cobblestones. The crowd gasped, phones zooming in, the air electric with anticipation. Janelle dropped her tray, her body tensing, but Jada caught her eye, a silent signal. "Wait." Jada steadied herself, her voice calm but carrying a razor's edge. "Big mistake, Baxter. You sure you want to do this?" Ryan sneered, stepping closer, his chest puffed out. "You're nothing. Just two wannabes who thought they could play in our world." Janelle's laugh was sharp, cutting through the tension. "Your world? Bro, your world's a sandbox, and you're throwing a tantrum because we brought better toys." The crowd roared, but Ryan's patience snapped. He lunged, his fist swinging toward Jada's face. Time slowed, the twins' training kicking in like muscle memory. Jada sidestepped, her movement fluid, her hands snapping up to catch Ryan's wrist in a vice-like grip. With a twist, she forced his arm down, her knee driving into his stomach with surgical precision. He gasped, stumbling back, his eyes wide with shock. Janelle didn't hesitate. As Brent charged her, she dropped low, sweeping his legs out from under him with a clean, practiced move. He hit the ground hard, his breath whooshing out. Zach hesitated, then rushed Jada, but she was ready, slipping under his wild swing and landing a sharp elbow to his ribs. He grunted, doubling over. The courtyard exploded into chaos, students shouting, phones capturing every second. Jada and Janelle moved like a single unit, their black belt skills on full display. Jada blocked another of Ryan's clumsy punches, her voice steady even as she countered with a palm strike to his chest. "You thought we'd break? You don't know us." Janelle, pinning Brent to the ground with a knee, grinned at Zach, who was scrambling to his feet. "Keep swinging, buddy. You're only embarrassing yourself." The fight was over in seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Ryan clutched his stomach, gasping. His crew sprawled around him. The twins stood tall, their breathing steady, their eyes burning with a fire that silenced the crowd. For a moment, no one moved, the weight of what had just happened sinking in. Then a voice broke the silence. That's enough. Mia and Gwen pushed through the crowd, her phone raised, her face set with quiet determination. The twins froze, their guards up. Mia had been a wild card helpful, but distant. Now she held the crowd's attention, her voice steady. I've been recording Ryan's crap for weeks. The taunts, the locker stunt, all of it. It's on the school-to-server now, sent to every teacher and parent. The crowd gasped, murmurs rippling through the students. Ryan's face paled, his bravado crumbling. You're lying, he spat, but his voice shook. Mia didn't flinch. Check your email, Baxter. Truth's out, Jada's mind raced, piecing it together. Mia wasn't just a bystander. She was playing the long game. Janelle shot her sister a look, half impressed, half suspicious. The crowd shifted, some students lowering their phones, others whispering furiously. The power dynamic had flipped, and Ryan felt it. He lunged at Mia, but Janelle was faster, stepping between them, her stance unyielding. Try it, and you'll be eating dirt again. Teachers finally appeared, their faces a mix of shock and panic. Hargrove, the same one who'd ignored Zach's soda stunt, barked orders. Everyone, disperse, Carter girls Baxter, to the principal's office. Now, as the crowd scattered, Jada caught Maya's eye. Mia gave a small nod, her expression unreadable. Jada's journal entry from the night before flashed in her mind. We can't trust anyone, but maybe we don't have to do this alone. She wasn't sure about Mia yet, but one thing was clear, the game had changed. In Principal Torres' office, the air was thick with tension. Torres, a wiry man with a permanent frown, sat behind his desk, his fingers steepled. Ryan, Zach, and Brent slouched in chairs, their bruises visible, their defiance fading. Jada and Janelle sat upright, their uniforms still crisp despite the fight, their faces composed but their eyes sharp. Jada Carter stood by the door, his presence a quiet anchor, his gaze steady as he watched the scene unfold. Torres cleared his throat, his voice tight. I've seen the footage, both the courtyard fight and Ms. Nguyen's compilation. Explain yourselves. Ryan jumped in, his voice whiny but calculated. They attacked us, sir. We were just messing around, and they went psycho. Janelle snorted, leaning forward. Messing around? You mean vandalizing our lockers and throwing punches? Real cute, Baxter. Did you practice that sob story in front of a mirror? The room stilled, Torres' frown deepening. Jada jumped in, her tone measured but biting. We defended ourselves, Principal Torres. Ryan's been targeting us since day one, taunts, pranks, physical attacks. Mia's footage proves it. You can't ignore that. Torres' eyes flicked to his computer, where Maya's email sat open. The video paused on a frame of Ryan spray painting their lockers. He sighed, rubbing his temples. This is a mess. The school board's already calling. Parents are furious. Derek spoke for the first time, his voice low but commanding. Good. They should be. Your school let this fester. My daughters did what they had to. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Torres hesitated, caught between protocol and the undeniable evidence. Jada's mind raced, her earlier journal entry echoing. They'll try to twist this. We have to be smarter. She leaned forward, her voice steady. Expel them or this goes public. Mia's footage is already viral. You want Crestwood on the news for protecting bullies? Ryan's head snapped up, his panic clear. You can't do that, Janelle grinned, her tone pure venom. Watch us, quarterback, your reign's over. Torres' jaw tightened, but the weight of Maya's evidence and the twins' unyielding resolve was too much. He nodded slowly. I'll recommend expulsion for Baxter, Carver, and Larson. And we'll review our policies. This can't happen again. As they left the office, Jada caught Janelle's eye, a silent victory passing between them. The fight wasn't over, not with the school's politics and the Mallory's influence looming, but for the first time they felt the ground shift beneath their feet. They weren't just surviving Crestwood. They were rewriting its rules. The principal's office at Crestwood Academy felt like a courtroom, all polished wood and heavy silence, the kind that pressed against your chest until you spoke just to break it. Jada and Janelle Carter sat side by side, their uniforms still crisp despite the courtyard chaos. Their faces composed, but their eyes sharp as knives. Across from them, Principal Torres hunched over his desk, his tie slightly askew, his screen glowing with Mia Nguyen's damning footage. Ryan Baxter, Zach Carver, and Brent Larson slouched in chairs against the wall, their bruises stark under the fluorescent lights, their usual swagger replaced by a mix of defiance and dread. Derek Carter stood by the door, his arms crossed, his presence a quiet storm steady, unyielding and impossible to ignore. Torres cleared his throat, his voice strained. I've reviewed Miss Nguyen's evidence, the courtyard footage, and statements from witnesses. The board's been notified. This situation is unprecedented. Jada leaned forward, her tone calm but cutting, like a blade wrapped in silk. Unprecedented? Or just ignored until someone forced you to look? Ryan's been running this school like his personal fight club for years. The room stilled. Ryan's head snapped up, his face flushed. That's a lie. They jumped us. Janelle cut him off, her grin sharp and merciless. Save it, Baxter. Your Oscar-worthy victim act isn't fooling anyone. That video's got more views than your game highlights. A few stifled laughs broke the tension, even from Ms. Hargrove, who stood awkwardly in the corner. Torres' frown deepened, but his eyes stayed on his screen, where Maya's footage looped. Ryan's taunts, the locker vandalism, the hallway shoves, all time-stamped and undeniable. Jada's mind raced, her journal entries from the past weeks flashing like a playbook. They'll try to spin this. Stay one step ahead. She caught Janelle's eye, a silent agreement passing between them. They weren't just fighting for themselves anymore. Derek spoke, his voice low, but carrying the weight of stone. My daughters defended themselves against a pattern of harassment you let fester. Maya's evidence proves it. The question isn't what happened, it's what you're going to do to make this right. Torres hesitated, caught in the crosshairs of evidence and accountability. Ryan's father, Greg Baxter, had already left voicemails, his threats of lawsuits echoing in Torres' mind. But the viral footage now trending on local social media had shifted the narrative. Parents were emailing, students were posting, and the school board was breathing down his neck. Jada saw it in his eyes. He was cornered, and he knew it. She pressed the advantage, her voice steady and strategic. Expel them, Mr. Torres. Not just for us, but for every kid Ryan's targeted. You let this slide, and Crestwood's on the nightly news as Bully High. Your call. Janelle leaned back, her tone dripping with mock sympathy. Mom. Yeah, I hear news vans love a good scandal. Bet they'd eat up prestigious Academy Shields racist jocks. Torres' jaw tightened, but he nodded, the decision settling like a gavel. Baxter, Carver, Larson, you're expelled, effective immediately. The board will review further disciplinary measures. And he paused, his voice softening, almost reluctant. We're launching a full investigation into our anti-bullying policies. This won't happen again. Ryan's face crumpled, his bravado gone. You can't do this, my dad. Your dad can't save you from the truth, Jada said, her gaze unflinching. Game over. As the boys were escorted out, their protests fading down the hall, Derek placed a hand on each daughter's shoulder, his pride silent but palpable. Jada felt it in her chest, a warmth, a release like a knot finally untying. Janelle's lips twitched, her usual fire softened by a rare moment of calm. They'd won, but the victory wasn't just theirs. It was for every kid who'd walked these halls feeling like they didn't belong. The Carter house that evening was alive with the hum of normalcy plates clinking, the TV murmuring sports highlights, the smell of Derek's grilled chicken filling the air. Jada and Janelle sat at the kitchen table, their homework untouched, their minds still replaying the day. Derek leaned against the counter, his eyes soft but searching. You held your ground, he said, his voice warm but firm. Not just with fists, but with smarts. I'm proud. Janelle grinned, tossing a napkin at Jada. Yeah, sis, that bully high line. Savage. You're stealing my thunder. Jada caught the napkin, her laugh low and genuine. Had to keep up with you, hotshot. That knee to Brent's ego was a work of art. Derek's chuckle was rare, deep, like a crack in his usual stoicism. You're both trouble, but the good kind. He sobered, setting his glass down. What you did today, it's bigger than Crestwood. You showed what happens when you don't bow. Jada's fingers traced the edge of her journal, her voice quiet but resolute. It's not enough, Dad. Expelling them doesn't fix the system. Kids like us were still targets. Janelle nodded, her usual spark tempered by thoughtfulness. Yeah, Ryan's gone, but there's always another Ryan. We gotta change the game, not just win it. Derek's eyes lit with something fierce pride, yes, but also recognition. He'd been mentoring at-risk teens at his gym for years, teaching them discipline, resilience. Now he saw his daughter stepping into that legacy. Then let's do it, he said. You two help me at the gym. Teach what you know. Strength, control, heart. Pass it on. Jada's smile was small but fierce. Deal. Janelle raised an imaginary glass. To kicking ass and building better worlds. The next morning, Crestwood's courtyard felt different, not softer but clearer, like the air after a storm. Students still clustered at tables, but their whispers carried a new weight. Some avoided the twins' eyes, guilt etched in their faces. Others offered hesitant nods, a quiet acknowledgement of respect. Mia Nguyen sat alone, scrolling her phone, but when she saw Jada and Janelle, she stood, her smile shy but genuine. Didn't think you'd pull it off, Mia said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. But thanks, for all of us. Jada studied her, still cautious but grateful. You took a risk, Mia. Why? Mia shrugged, her voice soft but firm. Someone had to. You guys just gave me the guts to do it. Janelle smirked, nudging Jada. See, we're contagious. As Mia walked away, a younger student approached a freshman, her braids tight, her eyes wide with something like awe. You're the Carter twins, right? I saw what you did. It means something. To kids like me. Jada's throat tightened, her journal's last entry echoing. We're not just fighting for us. She knelt slightly, meeting the girl's gaze. You belong here. Don't let anyone tell you different. Janelle added, her grin fierce. And if they try, come find us. We've got your back. The girl beamed, clutching her backpack as she darted off. Jada and Janelle exchanged a look, their bond unspoken but unbreakable. They crossed the courtyard, their steps lighter, their heads high. Crestwood wasn't theirs, not yet, but they'd carved out a piece of it, a foundation for something better. The gym glowed under the late afternoon sun, its windows catching the light like a promise kept. Inside, the air buzzed with energy. Sneakers squeaked, pads thumped, and laughter bounced off the walls. Jada and Janelle Carter stood at the heart of it, guiding a group of teens through a self-defense drill. Jada adjusted a girl's stance, her voice calm but firm. Elise, keep your weight centered. You're not just blocking, you're claiming your space. Janelle, weaving between pairs, flashed a grin at a wiry kid struggling with a kick. Come on, Jamal. You're not auditioning for a slow-motion scene. Snap it like you mean it. Jamal laughed, trying again, his kick sharper this time. Easy for you, Janelle. You and Jada are like superheroes. Jada's lips quirked, catching Janelle's a silent nod to the months they'd spent proving they were more than survivors. They'd walked into Crestwood as outsiders, their backs against the wall, but they'd left as architects of change. Now, teaching kids like Elise and Jamal, they were building something new. Jada's journal lay open in her bag, its latest entry simple. Pain can break you or it can forge you. We chose to forge. Elise stepped back, wiping sweat, her eyes bright with a quiet victory. I used your dodge at school yesterday, she said softly. This guy's been messing with me forever. He backed off when I stood my ground. Janelle's grin softened, pride flickering in her gaze. That's the stuff, Elise. You're tougher than hell ever be. Derek watched from the corner, his usual stoic mask cracked by a rare smile. He'd taught his daughters to fight, but they'd taught him something bigger. Strength wasn't just holding your own, it was passing the torch. The old Crestwood headline was gone, replaced by a flyer for their free classes, a testament to the storm they'd weathered and the roots they'd planted. Jada's voiceover broke through, steady and fierce. Crestwood showed us the world can be cruel, but we learned something stronger. Adversity doesn't define you. It's what you build from it that does. We turned our fight into a foundation for others. The screen faded to black, bold text flashing. What challenge shaped your strength? Share your story in the comments. Pass this video to someone who needs a spark and hit subscribe for more tales of rising up. Let's build a world where no one fights alone.